Your Steve Jones Show podcast will start shortly. The Steve Jones Show podcast is sponsored by Brewers Outlet, your beverage supermarket on Reagan Street in Sunbury. Sports talk where your voice counts. This is the Steve Jones Show on News Radio 1070 WKOK. Now from the Sunbury Motors Studio, here's Steve Jones.
Sunbury Motors, 4th Street in Sunbury. Sunbury Motors, Kia routes 11 and 15, and Hummel's Wharf. Great to have you with us on the show today. And today's show brought to you by Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street in Sunbury, the beverage supermarket. Imports, domestics, microbrews, and great specials between now and Tuesday. Bud Light Orange 30 packs, $22.97. Michelob Amber Bock 12 packs, $11.49. Like wine coolers? Plenty of those. Wine coolers, water, soft drinks, snacks. They roast their peanuts fresh and hot every day. And the pickle bar, led by the barrels and the dills, indeed, second to none. All at Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street in Sunbury, the beverage supermarket. I'm in the Sunbury Motors studio. Sunbury Motors, 4th Street in Sunbury. Sunbury Motors, Kia routes 11 and 15 in Hummel's Wharf. Play-by-play call of the day, my old friend Matt LePay, as Brevin Pitzel gets it done on senior night in Madison.
Davison with a shot clock at 5. Brad it finds it cutting. Pitzel slam dunk. Pitzel with the flush. Oh, he's more than just a three-point shooter. He'll go in and punch it.
Matt LePay, my good friend on the Wisconsin Radio Network. Wisconsin impressive. They ran Iowa out of the building last night. That is also the last game that Iowa will play with Fran McCaffrey not there. Fran McCaffrey for this season. Fran McCaffrey had to sit out last night's game. Kirk Speraw was the acting head coach last night, the former head coach at Central Florida. All right, so now let's get to the wrestling. And Penn State has not won the Big Ten title since 2016. Of course, they've won 7 of the last 8 national titles. But just as a point of fact, have not won the Big Ten title since 2016. With that, we go out to Minneapolis. Jeff Byers. Hello, Jeff. How are you?
Thanks, Steve. Nice to be here.
Winning a Big Ten championship is prestigious. Winning a team championship is prestigious. But in some ways, is this just a qualifying tournament?
Yeah, at the end of the day, I mean, the ultimate objective in the sport is, as it is in any sport, is at the collegiate level, is to win the national championship.
Whoa. Hold on. Bo Schembechler did not say that.
I understand, and I'm with all due reference to the esteemed Bo Schembechler, may he rest in peace.
Yes.
The overwhelming majority of folks in college athletics, the ultimate objective is to win the national title. And so, yeah, I mean, Penn State, as Cal has often said, Penn State wants to win everything it competes in. But, yeah, ultimately the goal, the ultimate goal is to win a national championship. And the Big Ten tournament is a stepping stone toward that end. And, yes, I think, truthfully, I think if you cornered a coach and said, listen, would you rather have 10 qualifiers out of here or win the title and have 7 qualifiers, I think probably all 14 coaches would say, yeah, I'll take the runner-up status and take my full team with me to the national.
So now let's go to that part. At 125, I think that's the one question mark about getting a 10th qualifier. How does it play out?
Yeah, I think it's going to be tough. I mean, Devin will be the 12th seed. In all likelihood, we'll get the official seedings and brackets here, but I don't think that's going to change. And he's going to have to pull significant upset, at least one significant upset along the way. And he'll have to wrestle his, the best match or two of his career to this point. I do think Devin's gotten better. I think Devin is a guy that gives you 7 minutes of effort every time out. But yeah, truthfully, it's an uphill road for him, and the likely scenario here for Penn State is that they'll qualify 9 for Nash.
Cale has done a very good job in nursing this team down the stretch, picking spots for guys to wrestle, but at the same time, because they may be a bit banged up, that maybe not injured, but they're hurt, He's bought them some time. How has that now played out? Is this as healthy as they can be going in?
Yeah, I think they are as healthy as they could be at this time of the year. I mean, there's no team that's getting to this point of the season where everybody's just feeling fresh as a daisy. But, I think Cale has been...
Bo Nickel is.
Yeah, well...
I mean, you do have to be challenged.
You wouldn't know it if he's not, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I think, I think the entire Penn State staff has been smart about the way they've gone about they're getting these guys as ready as they can while taking care of their bodies. And, I really think this coaching staff and the training staff has developed a terrific game plan. I think they came in with a good game plan 10 years ago, and I think the changes and the tweaks and the refining of that over the last decade, ought to have a lot of people feeling very confident that this team will peak at the right time of the year here.
Roman Bravo Young, first experience going through it, has had some great moments this year and has been banged up. So how do you look at him?
Yeah, to me, Steve, he's one of these guys that could do tremendous things at the tournament. But on the other side of it, I mean, Roman could go out and wrestle well and not place in the top 4 here, and go out and wrestle well and not place at nationals. I mean, it's not even that he would have to wrestle poorly or not up to par, because that weight class is just loaded. But I do think Roman's made some tremendous strides this season. I think he's wrestling with as much confidence right now as we've seen him. I think having battled through the injury maybe has helped the gratitude aspect of it for Roman. Yeah. Realizing that opportunity, isn't guaranteed and isn't necessarily always going to be there. And so, I do think he's going to have a big postseason. I really do. I think he's going to have a very good showing here at the Big Ten tournament, and I think he will at least get on the podium in Pittsburgh. But again, he could wrestle well and not place at nationals, because that weight class is just so deep and so talented.
Okay, you mentioned the depth of weight classes. Give me 3 weight classes where you look at, boy, that's a stacked weight class. It's really deep, and there could be 4 different guys that can win the darn thing.
Yeah, I mean, 133 is certainly one of them. I mean, Miocic has separated himself a little bit to this point this season. But I think behind him, that 2 to 7 spot, and I think any of those guys, again, on a given day, I don't think Miocic is anything close to unbeatable. I just think he is clearly the guy to beat there. But I think anybody else behind him and those next 6 or 7 guys is capable of doing big things. I think 165, Steve, is just a tremendous on the top end. I think those top 5 guys in the Big Ten are all guys that are national title contenders. I mean, they're, Logan Massa is a guy that when healthy and when he's on is as good as anybody in that weight. And so, I really think 165. Obviously, Vincenzo's a 2-time national champion looking for his first Big Ten title, and is the guy to beat there. But man, that is a really, really good and deep field. And then there's a couple of other weight classes that I think maybe not quite the overall depth in terms of guys that are contenders, but I think the top 3 guys at 141, and I think certainly the top 2 here at the Big Tens at heavyweight are national title contenders. I think one of the more open weight classes out of Rutgers is 149, and that's a weight class that I think it'll be interesting to see how Brady Berge does fare this weekend, and if he can help himself for a of the national tournament.
Obviously, you have. I don't know. Well, I shouldn't say obviously, because I don't know if you're staying in downtown Minneapolis or not. Where are you staying?
No, we're staying right at the Graduate there, which I think has undergone about 15 name changes in the 25 years we've been. Is
this the Radisson Metrodome?
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
But at one point, at least on the bus trip up from the airport, you saw the Dome.
Yep.
That's where it is next year. Has anybody even privately talked about just big picture of that one next year down the road? I know you got to take care of business now, but I'm just talking coaching staff, casual conversation about whatever as to how that's going to work and as to whether anybody will be able to see it.
Yeah, I really haven't talked with the staff here. I've talked with fans about it, and I'm glad wrestling is trying it. I'm very curious to kind of see how it works, how the logistics work, what the fan experience is like, and because one of the problems, and it's a nice problem to have, I understand if you're the NCAA, but they have not been able to accommodate all of the ticket requests. That should not be a problem,
right? No.
Next year. But the question is, long-term sustainability. Is that something that you could do on a somewhat regular basis? Move it to a dome stadium like that, and does it work? Does it work for the fan experience? Does it work for the athletes, the coaches? I mean, the whole bit. I like the idea that they're trying it, and we'll see. It could be, could be an epic failure, but I think that you live and learn through that process, and it could be something that really allows the sport to, maybe take that next step in terms of its growth here. If again, it is something that is able to work for everybody involved.
I'm thrilled they're trying it. I think that's great. It'll be a great publicity. Element because you have the record crowd and so forth. But what's interesting about that place? There's a lot of glass there. The NCAA is spending $4.5 million on curtains to cover the glass.
I didn't realize
because of
wow.
Yes, they are. Yes, it's amazing. But I want to ask you about Williams. This is wrestling. Okay, sometimes they don't quite stay on the mat.
Yeah.
How concerned do they get about the raised floor?
I would say pretty concerned. I'm concerned about it, and
I mean, I'm sorry, but even for basketball, I think no offense, but I mean, take it, lower it. It's dumb.
Yeah, no, it does seem risky, and I have not been over there yet. We're going over here in a little bit this afternoon just to see kind of the configuration here with the mats, because I do think it's going to be tight, and that is I think a legitimate concern going into the tournament, is that raised
Jeff,
floor.
I've always thought I think it's worse for wrestling. Okay, I know the mat's smaller, but there's going to be multiple mats on the floor. What, 2?
Yes. Well, there'll be 4 at the
so you're gonna so you're gonna have 4 mats on the
3.
floor.
Yeah, it might be 3 here for the now that I think about that. For the,
but still, all right. Again, people go, oh, it's so quaint. Quaint my foot. It's ridiculous. I saw Vashawn Leonard, played in the NBA for years. Vashawn Leonard's playing Penn State, flew off the court and into a railing. In an arena he knew like the back of his hand.
Yeah. No, it is. I'm with you 100%. It seems like an unnecessary risk.
All right. Thanks so much. It's going to be a great weekend of broadcasting by you. I know you're all well rested and set to go. You got plenty of Gatorade.
Absolutely. No, it should be,
or whatever,
be a lot of fun.
Or whatever beverage you've been using.
Hey, whatever they have me, Steve, I don't have questions.
Ever. Jeff, thanks so much. Great weekend.
Thanks, Steve. Appreciate it.
Jeff Byers joining us in Minneapolis at the Big Ten Wrestling Tournament. We will come back with more in a moment as we continue on News Radio 1070 WKOK, brought to you by Brewers Outlet.
Party time, game time, or just fun time. Doesn't matter what time it is, because it's Brewers Outlet time. The beverage supermarket has the area's largest beer selection. Imports, microbrews, ciders, and domestics. Pick from over 100 ice-cold 12-packs and dozens of 24-ounce singles. Soda, snacks, hot sauces, fresh roasted peanuts. Make it one-stop party shopping, and don't forget the pickle bar. So whatever you're celebrating or just doing it up, Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street, Sunbury wants to see you. And thank you for your years of patronage.
Great to have you with us on the show today on this Friday, brought to you by Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street in Sunbury, the beverage supermarket. Imports, domestics, microbrews, the best selection of beer anywhere. Wine coolers, water, soft drink, snacks. They roast their peanuts fresh and hot every day. Pickle bar led by the Barrels and the Dills. Indeed, second to none. And yes, we are in the Sunbury Motors studio. Sunbury Motors, 4th Street in Sunbury. Sunbury Motors Kia, Routes 11 and 15 in Hummel's Wharf. Will Wade suspended by LSU. Normally, the pathway to suspension does lead its way in terms of influencing a decision when you hear the words FBI wiretaps. Ugh. And according to Yahoo Sports, they're all over that. They are all over that. Very interesting. So he's been suspended. Look, I don't think they have much of a choice here when you look at the situation. I mean, number one, right? Number one, if you go to the SEC tournament, what are you going to have to do? Oh, you have to have a press conference. Do you think anybody's going to ask you about the backdoor cut you ran to win the game? They're going to be asking you about the FBI. You have to keep answering over and over again. I can't discuss a current investigation because he was already subpoenaed to testify on April 22nd, along with, by the way, Sean Miller of Arizona. This is a huge story. I know we're getting locked in on what's going on in our current world. Bucknell won. Bucknell's got Lehigh coming up. What, 2 o'clock Saturday? John, that sound right? 2 o'clock Saturday?
That'll be Sunday.
2 o'clock Sunday. They've got Lehigh in the Patriots semifinals. Huge. Penn State's playing noon Sunday. If Penn State wins and Indiana beats Rutgers, Penn State is the 10 seed and would then play Thursday against, I believe, in all likelihood, Minnesota, I think. Dick and I talked for about 20 minutes today, and we were locked in on a couple of other things when it came to basketball. But we think that's how it plays out. In terms of the Penn State wins, Indiana wins, yeah, we do know that. If that combination doesn't happen, then Penn State's the 11th seed. Yeah. All right. So there's how that plays out. But the story about what's going on at LSU is a huge story. This is a current head coach. You know, the people, they look at the job Will Wade's doing. And have you noticed, Sean, over the years, how cautious I am talking about sometimes about certain people in terms of the kind of great job they're doing? Have you ever noticed that? I'm very cautious about it. There's a reason why I'm cautious about certain things. If I don't really know them that well, or I know through the grapevine certain things, which you can't really report. That's why that Dan Jenkins thing you sent me this morning was so interesting. Know what you shouldn't print. Okay, know what you shouldn't report. He's absolutely right about that. It's a very important part. In fact, I've got to get that quote, read it on the air. Do you have that in front of you? You sent it to me.
I can pull it up. Yeah, for those who didn't hear, the legendary sports writer and decades phenomenal golf writer Dan Jenkins passed away at the age of 89. Sally Jenkins' dad. And lots of times he would say, he would always put his daughter's writing skills ahead of his.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I can pull it up here. Here we go. My advice doesn't change with electricity. Be accurate first. Then entertain if it comes natural. Never sell out a fact for a gag. Your job is to inform above all else. Know what to leave out. Don't try to force feed an anecdote if it doesn't fit your piece.
Know what to leave out. That's important.
Yeah. No matter how much it amuses you, save it for another time. Have a conviction about what you cover. Read all the good writers that came before you and made the profession worth being part of. Don't just cover a beat. Caretake it. Keep in mind you know more about the subject than your readers or editors. You're close to it, they're not. I can say in all honesty, I've never written a sentence I didn't believe, even if it happened to be funny.
Some important stuff in there. He was 89 years old. I only met him one time. It was at a U.S. Open. It's the only time I ever met him. Well, the King in the final half hour. What a way to cap the week.
Taking your calls at 800-795-9565. This is the Steve Jones Show on News Radio 1070 WKOK. Now, from the Sunbury Motors Studio, here's Steve Jones.
All right, Sunbury Motors, 4th Street in Sunbury. Sunbury Motors, key routes 11 and 15 in Hummel's Wharf. And today's show brought to you by Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street in Sunbury, the Beverage Supermarket. Imports, domestics, microbrews, best selection of beer anywhere, including great specials between now through Tuesday. Bud Light Orange 30 packs, $22.97. Michelob Amber Bock 12 packs, $11.49. Wine coolers, waters, soft drinks, snacks. They roast their peanuts fresh and out every day. And the pickle bar led by the Barrels and the Dills, indeed, without question, second to none. All at Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street in Sunbury. The Beverage Supermarket. Sean, intro our next guest, please.
All right. He is the pride and joy of South Windsor, Connecticut, known as the most interesting man in New England.
Shama Lama Ding Dong. What up?
I'm glad you're there on the other end of the line. For some reason, on my phone headset, where we take phone calls for the shows, I wasn't not hearing anything. But I'm glad you're there.
I didn't pay the bill again.
Oh boy!
So I lost my baked potato.
What?
I baked a potato at lunchtime, and I went to get my ketchup. I like to squirt ketchup on it, and I lost the freaking thing. Had everyone looking for it. Couldn't find it.
First your cell phone, now your potato.
Yeah, the cell phone's dead. But the plow's done good. And it's got a new name, Storm Tracker 22. So, but cable is out malfunctioning again in Studio 305, which is just not a good thing. They've got to put a new line in from the house to the road. So
they're going to do that before noon Sunday. You'll be able to watch the Penn State game on Sunday.
I can watch. We just can't. We're so spoiled now. The DVR's not working. We got cable. So the inability to rewind and slow motion and, tape whatever we want is just unacceptable.
Yeah,
now.
pausing live TV, that's a great little perk, too.
So, anyway, we can still see our Hallmark movies, and we're good. We just can't tape them. So, but we're getting a whole new line to the house. Outside of that, everything here is doing very well, and that's about it. That's all I got. How about Bennett to the Patriots, huh?
Breaking news, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Michael Bennett did not want to take a pay cut, so the Eagles dealt him.
Yeah, it was a smart move by the Eagles,
Oh, sure it is.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't want to pay him, so at least they can get something for him. A good move for the Patriots. But it's more about Trey Flowers. That means the Patriots are pretty sure Trey Flowers is going to leave, and they're going to find his replacement. So, or the Patriots aren't willing to pay Trey Flowers. So.
The Eagles, by the way, get a 2020 fifth-round pick. And the Eagles gave up not only Bennett, but they get a 2020 seventh-round pick.
Wow. Well, at least they got something for him because they stood to get nothing for him.
Oh, exactly. They got
so you got to get something for it.
It's like
help
it's
bring
like
him a Super Bowl. So
it's like Sean's guy Antonio Brown.
Boy, I'm sorry, it's not funny. It's Pittsburgh Steeler area.
You're getting a pretty good laugh out of it.
Come on, man.
You're
That's
outside
just
looking in up there.
Stuff. Now nobody wants the guy. Buffalo wants him.
Buffalo backed out.
Buffalo backed out?
When the Bills back out, you got a problem.
Well, I heard he didn't want to go to the Bills.
Well, evidently they weren't crazy about him either.
That's just so funny. Oh, my God. Poor Pittsburgh. No, well.
No one's feeling bad for them.
You know, I think he's going to go to the Cowboys. For some reason, I think the Cowboys are going to pick him up. So I didn't hear anything, nothing. I still
vote the Raiders because I think that puts them in exile.
Well, the Raiders is strange. He wants another quarterback. I thought that kid's good.
He is good.
What am I missing? That Gruden, Gruden, he won a Super Bowl and he made funny faces and all that stuff. But really, he's got a losing record, doesn't he?
In fact, he did not have a winning record after the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
did not have a winning season.
He hasn't done anything there, but let really good players go. Wasn't Mack with them?
Khalil Mack, he dealt him. He wasn't good enough.
Yeah, I mean, he's a great football player. Why would you deal a great football player? Doesn't make any sense to me. Anyway, that's today's sports world.
Market for Antonio Brown, quote, is pretty bleak right now. He may still be your guy, Sean.
Well, one of three things can happen. Either he can play for the Steelers, play for whatever team he's traded to, or he sits out the year and forgoes his salary. But if that happens, if C happens out of those three, the noise will be much louder compared to everything they had to deal with Le'Veon Bell last year.
Yeah, I don't think he sits out. I think he signs with someone. He don't want to play in Pittsburgh anymore. So, I mean, part of his problem is that flying in on helicopters and stuff like that, but teams don't want the distraction.
Yeah, sometimes he's, I'm not a me guy. But yeah, then he shows up 1 year in a Rolls Royce and another year in in the helicopter.
Yeah,
he does He does that interview.
He'll never play for the Patriots and do that.
He does that interview last weekend with Jeff Darlington on ESPN from his mansion in Miami. He says, "I don't need football anymore." Well, I better hope that mansion's paid up. you need something.
You're not going to get at dances. He wasn't very good on Dancing with the Stars. So, I mean, what's he going to do? These guys are crazy. They don't get it. I don't know. I guess it's easy to sit back and say, but
I'll tell you, you know what I think is influencing a lot of NFL players right now? Is the NBA.
Yeah.
I think the power that the NBA players have to affect change on rosters is affecting NFL players, but NFL players are in a different spot compared to NBA players. Number one, an NBA player has a guaranteed contract. NFL players don't. I mean,
didn't LeBron James on his show make it a point to say that the NFL is like a slave? That they run it like slave labor, something like that. And so he gets everybody on board and gets everyone all fired up saying stuff like that. I don't look at it that way.
Well,
Did you hear Stephen A. Smith today?
No.
He cracks me up. He is funny. He had people calling up the show because he was dumping on Antonio Brown. He was dumping on that offensive lineman for the Cowboys who quit because he wants to smoke pot. Yeah. Right. And I don't mean this racist at all, so nobody take this the wrong way. I'm paraphrasing, people were telling him he's not black enough. And he went off. He was so mad. He was like, no, I call it what it is. It's stupid. He said, I don't care what color you are. You're stupid,
Right.
And
I think
it was almost like he was hurt. He was like, "Come on, stop it with this stuff. These guys are making dumb decisions, you know." And
you got part of it is what kind of advice are these guys getting, for example, from their agent? Now, their agent may be giving them great advice, and they're not taking it. That is always a consideration that has to be brought in here, because the agent most agents have a pretty good handle on what the market is, what the team is, what the overall, NFL, NBA, NHL, Major League Baseball market happens to be. And a lot of these guys don't listen to that advice. So that's part of it. There's another part of it, too, is I go back to the NBA influence. What's the NBA influence right now? In the NFL, you don't really have guaranteed contracts. Sure, Kevin Jones signs a 7-year contract with the Philadelphia Eagles, okay?
Gets a block clock.
Right. But you get a signing bonus. You probably get the first 2 years guaranteed. And the next 3 or 4 years, you have to make the team to get the money. The NBA is not like that, and Major League Baseball absolutely is not like that. Major League Baseball, Manny Machado is going to get $300 million. Yeah. Bryce Harper is going to get $330 million. It doesn't matter if something happens to Bryce Harper, he's going to get his $330 million. Simple as that. There's no cap. Hockey, they have guaranteed contracts too, but most of them are short-term contracts. The NFL is the only one that has that. Well, he signed a 7-year. I'll give you a good example of Drew Brees. Now, they're going to keep Drew Brees. Remember when Brees signed that big contract? It was a 5-year, $100 million contract. $60 million of it was guaranteed. The other $40 million was not. He had to make the team to get it. Now, we all know that Drew Brees was going to make the team to get it. But I'm saying, though, that is but that is a typical standard contract in the NFL, where the latter part of the contract, you have to make the team to get there. Right. And so you hear the grandiose number. He signed a 7-year. I can't remember the guy for the 49ers one year, Sean, signed a 7-year contract worth $120 million. Like, you look at it and you're like, he's guaranteed 40. All right, that's a big number, but the other 85 is not guaranteed. And that's in the NFL, that's the problem they run into, especially in such a physical sport where the possibility of you getting hurt, losing your career, you also lose the rest of the contract because you had to make the team to get there.
How about Albert Ainsworth? I mean, I think we just crossed the 10-year anniversary when he signed that gargantuan deal with the Redskins. That was the first ever that crossed $100 million.
Right.
All those plays that he dogged.
Yeah, but he didn't get all the money.
No,
because it
wasn't guaranteed. Well, Bobby Bonilla, he gets $1 million
like $1 million a year off the Mets
until 2032.
Yeah,
till 2032, Bobby Bonilla gets a check for $1 million every year from the Mets. I mean, you wonder why Mr. Met looks as depressed as he does.
Hey, Kevin, we talked about this last week. Bryce Harper's new deal with the Phillies runs out. Bobby Bonilla still gets paid after his deal.
Right. It's incredible.
That's true.
Incredible. Bobby Bonilla will still be getting a check after Bryce Harper. Right now, so now
here's the nursing home. They'll be mailing him money.
So now here's the NBA, where you've got Anthony Davis trying to now work his way into what he thinks is not only a great money situation, but a better winning situation. He's very public about that. And so you've got guys that have, like LeBron James has worked the system perfectly in his career.
Yep.
Perfectly. He's made the maximum. Yep. He's made the max amount of money. Mm-hmm. And now in retirement, which will be on the horizon, he's put himself into a position in Los Angeles that allows him to be an influential media mogul with TV, movies, and may have moved himself in a position where down the road he can be an owner.
I admire that. In other words, he looked way beyond basketball.
Yes.
That I've got another life after this that I want to live and enjoy. And you see very few athletes of his stature do that, And it's a lot of hard work, producing and stuff like that. And He's a different cut, LeBron.
Well, he is a different cut in a lot of ways. Now, I've always looked at him as a big-time me guy. But if you pull that aside and look at what he's done business-wise, I think he's been brilliant. I think he has played the system perfectly. He's won 3 championships. He's also put himself.
Yeah.
And here's a guy
saying he's got to win more. I don't think so.
No.
He's won his, and he's been the man. You know,
he's carried this league on his back for at least the last dozen years.
Yep.
Right? He's carried the league, and so he's done that, and he's made it more popular than ever. And again, he's one of those guys where you may love him. Okay, so you're watching. Or it may be like the Patriots. You don't like him, but you want to watch him fail. I mean, whatever the reason happens to be, he still draws you to the TV to watch it, whether it's pro or con.
You know who he reminds me of? And it's not a great example, but Deion Sanders. I could not stand listening to Deion Sanders, but boy, oh boy. You know, he'd catch that punt, and you'd be like, oh, my God. And you would run to the TV because there was going to be a punt. And Deion was going to receive it, and 9 times out of 10 he scored a touchdown. In other words, he had a big mouth, but he put it up too. And
well, it's funny. When I went to Super Bowl Media Day, Deion Sanders was there.
Yeah.
And I was talking to LeVar Arrington. We were chit-chatting about something. And Deion comes into the lunchroom, which was it's the Devil's practice ice, so it's a 200 by 85-foot lunchroom. And he comes in, and the number of people that swarmed around him to get his thoughts and his comments. And you could see at the draft, those players can't wait to talk to him.
Yeah.
They love him. He's flamboyant. He's exciting. Yeah, he's articulate. He's smart. And then LeBron James, you're right, has set himself up for life. And I think he's been smart enough where he grew up in not exactly the greatest situation in the world growing up. Okay? So he knows what it's like not to have much. And he's been smart enough to say that I will never be in that situation the rest of my life.
Yep.
Smart enough to do it. Instead of going, hey, I got something here, I'm going to blow it. He's been quite the opposite. He's looked around and said, you know what? I've lived both. I've lived without money, and I've lived with money. Living with money is really cool.
We as fans forget, and people forget, he did not go to college. He does not have a college degree, No. And he's doing this without, I'm sure he went to a decent high school. In fact, I know he did, but without a further education, he's making really smart moves with his life. But you know what? I've said this for a long time. Going to college and getting a college degree is great. But don't ever look at somebody who doesn't have a college degree and not think they're smart. Never think that. There have been so many examples of people that have succeeded tremendously. Yeah. So don't ever say, I got a degree, and you don't. Guess what? That dude or that woman may be doing extremely well because they weren't as fortunate as you were to get to that point, but they certainly have the street smarts to make it happen. And they don't have any student loans.
No, and that's what I talked about with college.
$250,000 ahead of you right now.
Yeah, right, exactly, and that's what I've talked about with college. All these college athletes walk out without debt. That's why it was interesting. I was watching Get Up this morning on ESPN. Sean, don't ask me why. I think I was just flipping around the TV.
Where the TV was on last night when you turned it on this morning.
It may have been, yeah. So Marcus Spears is on talking about the situation at LSU with the wiretaps. And he says, this is another example of why the players should get paid. Well, excuse me, but I read the transcript of the wiretaps. A lot of the money was allegedly going to go to the mom. A lot of money was allegedly going to go to some handler. I mean, it doesn't sound to me like the athlete's getting anything here. Okay? The money seemed to be going everywhere but the kid. I mean, I'm sorry. That was not an argument for why athletes should be paid. I sat there and said, excuse me, the mom can't play. The handler can't play. But they're getting cash. Okay? So really, honest to goodness, I mean, it's not an argument as to why they should get paid. Oh.
That's going to be a never-ending question.
Within 5 years, the courts will settle it through appeals and things like that. I think within 5 years we'll have an answer on that. Football and men's basketball will not be affected at all by it. If I'm a big fan of another sport, and obviously in our area, I've mentioned this a million times, wrestling is huge in our area, huge. Okay, Penn State won't drop wrestling, but 60 other schools might, because they're going to look around and say, we can't afford it. We got to put them. We have to spend money on football and basketball players. I mean, just because you hear, this drumbeat, okay, it may affect a sport you love.
I was reading an alarming article here in Connecticut. UConn sports department lost $40 million last year.
Yeah.
Not one sport made money, including the UConn women, lost $3 million.
Right.
None of their sports make the school any money. They just cost the school money.
There's been some talk about UConn dropping football. There's been some talk about UConn dropping football.
Well, nobody goes to the games. It's the most screwed up system you have ever seen, and it just costs the school too much money to have it, and nobody goes to the game. There's probably 1,000 people in the stands. And
I think the saving grace for UConn could have been if they had somehow been able to get into the ACC. Yeah. Without getting into a Power 5 conference. If you're not in a Power 5 conference, ACC, SEC, Pac-12, Big 12, Big 10, yep, your odds of staying afloat as an athletic department dramatically drop.
Right.
Because
they mentioned that in the article, that what are they in the AAC or something like that?
The American. Yep, the American Athletic Conference.
And that it just doesn't pay where the Big Ten pays. These big conferences pay. They don't. But I was stunned that the women lose money. But I mean,
it's.
They have TV contract. They have their own SNY in New York.
That's a good contract. Games. That's a good contract too.
Yeah. Yet they still lost $3 million last year.
Wow.
And they went to the Final Four,
and that's the gold standard.
Yeah.
When the gold standard is losing money, you've got a problem. So if UConn women are losing $3 million, you've got a problem. Again, we'll take it back to wrestling. Wrestling here at Penn State loses between $800,000 and $1 million a year, and they sell everything out. It's just you can't make any money unless you have some form of media rights. And look, the wrestling tickets here are really cheap too. Now, conversely, the UConn women's tickets, they gouge you.
They're not cheap at all.
No.
It's definitely corporate. United Technologies and things like that. It's very corporate. And it's stunning that the UConn women lose money. The men, they screwed their program up. No question about that. But the women, I mean, it is.
I was just, believe me, I for about an hour today at a film session, I was sitting next to Kevin Freeman, who just left UConn to come here.
He must be just disgusted. The men's program. I think this guy's going to Hurley is going to do a good job there, but it's going to take a while. So
yeah. No,
if the program stays, they've got big problems. You can't absorb. I mean, the school tried to sugarcoat it and say, well, they've raised the academic level of the school, and so you have to put more into it than that. And you're like, oh, come on. $40 million is $40 million. However you want to look at it.
Well, the goal of this show
shouldn't be losing money like that.
Well, the goal of this show is to make money. And because of Sean, I think we've got a shot.
You have the best producer around.
You get that right.
Yes,
absolutely. Absolutely. Well, have a great weekend.
Thanks, boys. Great weekend.
Good luck with your cable.
Bye, guys.
See ya. Penn State basketball Sunday at noon on, beginning at 11:30 Eastern Daylight Time. Turn your clocks ahead an hour tomorrow before you go to sleep. Today's show brought to you by Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street in Sunbury, the Beverage Supermarket. And we're in the Sunbury Motor Studio. Thanks for joining us. Have a great weekend, everybody. Thank you, Sean.
Your station for news, weather, business, and CBS Sports Radio. News Radio 1070 WKOK Sunbury and on WKOK.com.